Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Women's Fitness Academy podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ellen, educator for Women's Fitness Academy, as well as a speaker, female empowerment coach, and I specialize in binge eating and body image, confidence, and mindset blocks. Today I'm here with someone who I've been chasing down for a while now because she doesn't do many interviews, so I feel very privileged that she wanted to talk with me. Her name is Nikki. She owns a nutrition coaching company called Make Fit with Nikki, or Make It Fit with Nikki.
Oh my God, you've been chasing me and you don't even know my name. Now
I just read that wrong. It's just too many things. Sorry, I'm Swedish. That's why I blame it on that.
Okay,
anyway,
fine. All right.
We've just had such a good conversations for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, okay, we need to start recording that because all of this is so good, and this needs to go in the podcast. So
Nikki, maybe next time, actually don't tell me when we are recording. Maybe maybe just put me on the spot and start just. Yeah, I think I work better when I'm not under pressure, maybe.
Yeah. No, well, I'm so excited to have you here because I've been following you for so long and I've reached out to you and like really wanted to get on. I know you said you were a bit nervous and didn't really want to, but then I'm so excited that you decided to jump on and we're going to have such a good conversation. And yeah, I'm so excited for all the listeners of the Women's Fitness Academy to get to know you a bit better. Obviously, you already run like a super successful coaching business that we just spoke about. But yeah, for the listeners who don't know you, who are you?
So I am Make It Fit with Nikki. I am Nikki from Make It Fit with Nikki. I'm a mum of 3 kids. I live in Melbourne, Australia. I've been coaching now for, I would say, 3.5 years. I think it's about 3.5 years. I did start this business solo, which has now turned into a company, and I have some really amazing people on my team. It took a lot for me to actually get anyone else on my team because it was one of those things where you just felt like no one's gonna be me, and no one's gonna be as good as my clients as I am to them, like, and I can't trust anyone, and no way, like, I was like so controlling over everything in my business that even sometimes I was like watching over Dalen's shoulder when he first started working with me. I was like, is he doing the right thing? Is he stuffing up? Like, is he making mistakes? And this is like my own husband. So I was like very protective over my business, and then it got to a point that I was pretty much wearing myself down to the ground. I think, like most business owners, we all start like this. We obviously start by, getting all these clients, other nutrition coaches, and I guess other businesses too. We get so many clients and we take on, all these clients, and we're just like, all of a sudden we've got no life. We're staying up on the computer till like 11, 12 a.m. We're up early again, 5 a.m., back on the computers, back checking DMs, back checking emails, and just constantly like on our phones 24/7. And it come to a point where I felt like my kids were talking to me and I wasn't even looking up anymore. And that's when I was like, nah, like this has to change. Like, I'm not present. This is like, everything's about my business. Everything's like work. My mum would come over, or people would come into my house to visit, and I was on my computer literally because I actually couldn't leave it. Like, I was stuck, like I was a slave to my computer at one point. And it was pretty much like the first year or so. And I just, like, my time management skills are horrible. I had no structure in my day. I started letting myself go. So I was always like someone who I'd make sure no matter what, I would go to the gym, do my steps, like watch my own nutrition, and all that was going like to shit. Like, I was like not looking after me at all, like, anymore, because obviously when you're busy and you're like focused on like so many other people, like, you don't have that time. And nutrition coaching is very like, it's draining. Like, it can be very draining, especially when you're taking on, it's not just you're coaching someone with nutrition, you're taking on a lot of like issues, a lot of problems, as you would know as well yourself. And it's hard sometimes to separate that from you know, like from your personal life as well, because you're constantly like trying to help people, trying to be there for people. So yeah, that's when I decided like I was going to start hiring, of course. And it was like it came to a point where, oh my gosh, my cat's meowing in the background. That's so embarrassing for the podcast.
Oh, I can't hear anything.
It got to a
Don't worry,
point
we've
that
had dogs, kids, tractors, anything.
oh my god, if it's not the kids, it's the cats. Yeah, so it got to a point where I was just like Dalen, like my husband, he was in dental, and I'm like, honestly, I only trust you. Like, what do you think about cutting down your days and like, you know, like working for me? And he was like, fuck yeah, like he gets to stay home, of course, work from home, hell yeah. So yeah, so he started working about 2 to 3 days, I think, on my business, and then it got to a point that it was like too busy that he just actually left dental altogether. So we made that like, yeah, we made the decision together. He left dental, he started working for me full time. And then it was still not enough because obviously Dalen's not a nutrition coach, so he could do everything else, but he couldn't do the check-ins. And it was the check-ins that I was really wanting. Obviously, I didn't want it to be like, what is that word? Oh my God. Is it quantity over quality? Yeah,
Quality over
like
quantity.
yes, I always wanted
Okay.
it to be yes, yeah, I always wanted my business, no matter what, no matter how busy I got, I always wanted it to be quality over quantity. So I interviewed heaps of people, and every time I was getting off the phone, I was like to Dalen, oh my God, like no, no, no way, no way, no way. Anyway, so Kirsty, she was my client back in the day. She had emailed me, and she just like it was really informal. She's like, hey, Han, I would really love to work for you. I've never really done nutrition coaching before, but I am studying for it, or she was already qualified, sorry, at this point. And I just like was like so over all the interviews, and I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to contact Kirsty. I know she's got no experience, but I just really love her vibe. I love everything she stands for, and I like follow her on Instagram and her own journey and everything like that. So I actually called her up like on the spot. Like I put her on the spot, and I'm like, hey, can I call you? And I just knew right from our first phone call, I was like to Dalen, oh my God, she is 100% the one for this company, like 100%. Like she was just like me, if not just because she was a mum, but just we were just so similar. Like the vibes were just there 100%. So then yeah, I got Kirsty, and then everything was running really smoothly finally again. I kind of sort of started getting my life back a little bit again and spending more time with the kids, which I hadn't done for like, you know, years. So yeah, and that's that. That's how that started. Well, it's not how it started, but yeah, that's just a bit of insight about my business. And yeah, just very blessed and lucky to have started this business not knowing. I actually started it thinking, all right, well, I'm gonna try. I knew that there was like so many coaches around, and I was like, well, you know, I this is what I'm really passionate about, and I don't care if there's like a million coaches around at this point. This was like in 2019 or something, or 2020. And I was like, because I believe that I can do this, and I believe I got what it takes, and this is what I want to do. I feel like I was born, literally put on this earth to literally help anyone I can. Like anyone I see, like my whole life, I've always wanted to help anyone. I've always wanted to leave people feeling good, feeling confident. Before I was a coach, I was always in women's fashion. So my thing was like always just making people feel confident, sexy, like satisfied with their experience, and just, you know, like even I'd get so many good. I realized when I first started working in fashion how many people were so down about their bodies, like, and how many people talk so badly about themselves. I would walk into the like change room, and like if they needed help, and they'd be like, oh my God, I look so fat, and always fat, 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 fat. That's what I would hear all day. And I just felt like it was always my job to like reassure them that they're being silly, or like, you're so like, please don't say that, like you look amazing, and like, or let's get something that's more, you know, like that you'll feel more comfortable in. So I always wanted to help women always feel comfortable, always feel confident, whether it was in retail or now in coaching. So I just really feel like I was put on this earth to make people feel good. I just that making people feel good makes me happy. Like that's literally where my ultimate happiness comes from. Like I've always been someone that I just like, I compliment everyone I see. Like I don't know, I just love to praise people and like lift people up. So yeah, I really do love what I do, and I feel like I will do this for a very long time.
Yeah. No, I love that so much. And I think so many people, I guess most people in this industry will be able to relate to that. And, we have everyone has like these different archetypes of what makes us happy. And for people in the industry, it's usually like you're the caretaker, you like take care of people. That makes you feel good to see other people glow and to progress and feel better about themselves. And that's such an amazing quality to have. So you obviously are in the right industry here.
Yeah.
And I could relate so much to what you were saying about like when you started off with having a coach working for you, because when I was coaching nutrition, that's what the path I went down as well, to like scale my business.
Yeah.
And my first hire was also someone who had been a client of mine.
Oh, and it always helps so much when they have had pretty much a good insight to your system, your business, because they're actually using it themselves. They know what check-ins are like, everything like that. So definitely do think, if anyone out there is wanting to hire, don't not consider past clients, because sometimes they turn out to be, really, really amazing, rather than just someone who's book smart and has this like, the certificates and the
all the qualifications. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you just took that word out of my mouth. Now I sound completely dopey, don't even know how to say qualifications, but sometimes I just can't think of that word. Yes, and the qualifications, it comes down to experience, the person, everything like that. So yeah,
for sure. And also I think that like, because it is literally like your baby, like it's your child that you've grown and nurtured, and you've literally given birth to it and spent so much time trying to grow it. So of course you want someone who is embodying everything that you're about, and that if someone has been a client in the past, then they are going to know exactly what your check-ins are going to be like. They're going to know your vibe. They're going to know like what you kind of, what your type of coaching is, because everyone is different. If everyone's coaching the same way, like there wouldn't be this many coaches. There's this many coaches because we're all so different, and we all have different ways of communicating with our clients.
Yeah, 100%. And you're always going to obviously get different clients as well, depending on what you're like, as well as a coach, and attract like a certain crowd as well. So
yeah, definitely. So I feel like you only started like a few years ago, and I feel like your business must have grown so quickly. Like, what do you think is the reason why yours has grown so much?
Do you know so many people? Can you get those cats out? Sorry, I was telling Dalen to get the cats out. Maybe edit that out. So many people like actually have said to me, like, even like my friends, my family, like they still constantly praise me. They're like, Nikki, like, do you know like how proud you should be of yourself? Like how you like what you have done in such a short amount of time. People can't do this in like years. And it's funny because I've never been someone who, I never went to uni. I never studied like before this. I was always just the mum of like the person who cooks and cleans and looks after the kids. And I left school in year 10, unfortunately, because I was a really bad kid. I was a really bad kid. School was definitely not a focus. So I just always thought that I was just going to be a mum, and like that was my job, to like have a part-time retail job and just to be a mum. So the fact that I guess I thought I was never going to be anything or amount to anything. And it wasn't that I had this like husband in dental that I was just like, oh, well, he'll just provide for us. Like I always did want to start something, and I knew that I was going to do something big, but I just didn't know what it was, but I always felt it. Like I always knew I was going to become something, but I just didn't believe it, because I was like, all right, you think and you feel like you're going to become something, but how are you going to become something if you didn't go to uni, and like you don't really have any idea how to run a business, you've never learned business or anything like that. So I went into this 100% blind. I started this because I actually started a page. Like first my page started off as recipes and like my own journey and things like that. I think that's where the whole like my eyes were opened up to the world of like if it fits your macros and calories and things like that. So I didn't know about flexible dieting or anything. I was just like, from back in the day, we starve ourselves, we do ridiculous things in order to lose weight. Like that's how I grew up. So when I did start learning about this, I was very interested. I was like, oh my god, what do you mean? Like I can eat this and I can eat that, and like calories and blah blah blah. So I started learning a lot like online, and then like I had like so many people that were following me and my page. So I built a bit of a following just from sharing my own journey. And then at the time I actually went with a coach um because I had just overcome like bulimia at this point. So I was like, all right, I'm my eating disorder is like I'm in control of it at the moment. I'm not doing anything bad to lose weight or anything like that, but I did want to lose weight again because it's sort of like when I stopped being bulimic and dieting and things like that, I kind of started putting on weight again. It was fine, like it wasn't bad, but then I was like, I want to go on a diet again, and I have some goals and things like that that I want to achieve. So I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to find a coach. This time I'm not going to go back to my old ways. I'm going to do this properly. So I got a coach, and it got like even worse after my first coach because it went from, getting my bulimia under control to becoming food obsessed and eating minimal calories. So my first coach had me on like 1,200 calories if I was hungry, Jelly Light, Coke Zero, mind over matter, blah blah blah. So it was one of those hardcore coaches, like strict to the point that it was like, even if you're a mum, that's like there's no excuses. Like you stick to 1,200 calories, you do this amount of steps, you do those 6 workouts a week, and like that's what you do. It was very pretty much a copy and paste kind of diet, which I only realized that when I became a coach myself. I thought this was how all coaches coached, and I thought, oh my god, so this is coaching. But I liked it because I was losing weight, I was getting super skinny, but I was eating more than I had ever eaten before and eating shit. So I was filling my 1,200 calories or 1,400 calories, I think I got to at one point, with just shit food anyway, because I was like, I didn't like learn anything about nutrition with this coach. It was kind of just like track your food, blah blah blah, and not even like what are you eating, or like, so it was all crap food. It was all sugar free everything. Like literally I was eating like 1 kilo of Jelly Light every night, which so many of us have done.
1 kilo, oh my god, that's
I know. Big stuff like lettuce leaves. If I was hungry, like instead of having like a bowl of chips on movie family night, I would have a bowl of like iceberg lettuce. And and I remember just like, it was always like I was praised by my coach for doing that if I said that's what I had done to fill my hunger. If my clients told me they did that now, I would actually kick them up the ass and be like, what are you doing? Not literally, but I would say, stop right now. Like you can eat, like no chance are you going to fill your hunger with Jelly Light, lettuce leaves, and Coke Zero. Like we all understand like a deficit's hard to push through hunger. Sometimes we all have, a coffee or like a Coke Zero, Pepsi Max, but it shouldn't be like all the time, and it shouldn't be to the point that we're starving and that's why we're doing it. Like so anyway, it became like I became 100% food focused, like by doing this like coaching, and I became like just very sick, just very, very thin. Like for my height, I'm a tall girl. So for the weight that I got to for my height, my mum hugged me once and she was like, Nikki, I don't know if you think this is good, but you don't look good. My sister said I looked old, and Dalen was like, oh my god, all I can feel is bones. And I just loved it. I was like, I actually loved those. They were compliments to me. Like it's just so crazy to think that like now that's not a compliment. That's, oh my gosh, I totally get where they were coming from. Like, so I ended up actually having like a really good friend online who, she explained to me like, you're eating like for your like weight and height, like that's like you're not eating enough calories. She's like and she's like, I eat blah blah blah, so you should be on even higher than me. And it was like a ridiculous amount. Like I was like, no way I would get fat if I ate that many calories. Like what? And she's like, no, Nikki, I swear I eat like whatever calories it was at the time. And I was like, what? And she was like, you need to follow this coach. So I started following this other guy, and he was all about like maintenance calories and like women eating more, and knowing that you don't have to like starve yourself in order to like reach your goals. And then I started actually coaching with him, and he literally changed my life. Like the coaching was so different. Like I told him some of the stories, he's like, what? Like they did that? Like he did that? What? Like no, that is wrong. So I started learning that I started really he was teaching me actually how to calculate my calories and, why this and why you're doing this and what maintenance is and blah, blah, blah. So it was all new to me, like literally all new to me. I was like eating like so much more and like remaining the same weight. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I had, like, that coach told me I had to be eating 1,200 to 1,400. They didn't even, like, they were just giving me a generic number. So, and then I just was like, oh, then lockdown happened, sorry. And that's when obviously we were like stood down from work. Like I didn't obviously go to work. The shopping centers were closed. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start studying like nutrition coaching. Anyway, like started studying nutrition coaching. I ended up finishing the course and I was like, I've got nothing to lose. Like, I don't know how to start a business, but I'm just going to start. Like, I'm just going to start because we all start somewhere. So I started the business, and within that week, I had like already 20 people like jump on. But I think because I had this following from like being like the food page kind of thing, like, and like, so I already had a relationship with a lot of people online. And then it was like a domino effect. And then that's when it just got like, whoa, like what? Like, is this like people want to be with me? What? Like it wasn't about like getting the money. It was just like, hang on, how did this happen? What? And then it got to a point where I was like, no, because you're someone to look up to and you know what you're talking about and you treat your clients good. So at the end of the day, like I was sort of like, how did this happen? But then I was like, no, it's happening because you're good at what you do. And then I did start believing in myself, and there was no, like, from there I was like, sky's the limit for you, Nikki. Like if you can do this, fuck, anyone can do it, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, not anyone, but like, you know what I mean?
No, you just need to put your mind to it and actually do the work. Like it's not like we had this discussion before we even started recording, how it's so easy, like when you first start off, to just literally just let your business ruin, like not ruin, but like control your whole life. Like you get up at 6 a.m. and you like already checking your DMs and you checking your emails and then you're signing up new clients and then you quickly jump into the gym but when you're training, you're still on your phone, and then you get to the gym and you eat your lunch and you're still looking at your phone, and then you do your check-ins, and then it's like you sit up until 12 to like do more check-ins to come up with content. And it's just like your business literally does, like if you have no boundaries, your business will start controlling your life. And 100%. I think what you said, like it makes a lot of sense with what you said about how you were bulimic before, which I didn't know. And then how you then became obsessed with tracking, because what happens when, especially like, because I work so much with girls with eating disorders and obsessions. So we tend to just replace one obsession with the next. So
100%
replace like your bulimic, and then you replace that for your obsession with tracking food and like being obsessed with losing weight. And then you get obsessed with your business. And then it's like it gets to a point where it's like my whole brain is just like so overwhelmed with these obsessions. And then it might be shopping, it might be playing poker, it might be alcohol, it might be sex. Like that's literally how obsessions work. They just jump from the next one to the next. But it sounds like you have a really good balance now, because you have set that up for yourself, and you could recognize that, you know what, I'm not present with my kids, I'm not present with my husband, I'm not present with my friends, and that's not a life that I want to live. So I think you should be very proud that you have such a successful business, but I think you should be the most proud that you actually took the step to let go of the obsession and created a life that you actually want to have.
100%. It comes to a point that I can honestly say you start making all this money and you're doing things you've never been able to do before. You're buying things you've never been able to buy. And again, I always say this, and I know everyone says it, but it's not about the money. It isn't about the money. But then it starts to become this like thing where you get used to making a certain amount of money, and then you want to make more and you want to make more. But I promise, like everyone who's listening to, money definitely doesn't buy happiness, like everyone says. And it's to a point now that I could be poor, and I promise you, I could be poor, minimalist, living with my kids and husband by the water in nice weather, like in Bali, for example, and I could have like just be able to scrape through paying bills and putting food on the table. And I swear that is all I need to make me happy. So you have to remember what you're doing. It needs to make you happy and bring happiness. It's not just about bringing in that money. You actually need to be passionate about what you're doing, because at the end of the day, I was helping people and making people feel good for free. Like, and I didn't like that wasn't a business. So it's just one of those things, like I said, that yeah, if I had nothing right now, except I was able to pay bills and able to see my kids happy and laugh and having a good life without materialistic things, that's all I need, literally. That is all I need. So yeah, I do in my later 30s now, I'm 35 this year. You do really start to realize what's important and what's not. You find that balance. You become so sure of who you are. You don't give a fuck what people think about you anymore.
Yeah.
Getting older is seriously a blessing sometimes. Like maybe not in your 80s and 90s when you're literally back to being like a baby again. But I mean, like, I'm so loving my 30s. Like, I'm so excited for the future. I'm excited to be 40, like, because I am like, I just love who I am right now. And I'm so happy because I didn't know who I was for a very long time, very long time. And it was always living off addiction and obsession and one addiction to the next. And it was never healthy things. So, yeah. And now it's just obviously I've got 3 kids. Like I want to be that role model that my kids are like. My mum was like the best role model ever. Like she was the best mum, like, and she was a hustler and she had this business. I don't know if I'll still have it, but like, and I want my kids to just look up to me, just being confident with who I am and going out to dinner and eating with them. And if I was always like someone who I'd let my like family eat at the table and I'd always like clean around the house and pretend I was doing something else. Or I would go to a restaurant and say, I'm sick, mummy's sick, like I'm not going to eat it. I don't feel like eating anything. And then, like I was never that mum who was like present. I was just so obsessed with with myself, with food, with my body image. And my kids got older and I was like, you can't, like, they're going to start remembering all this stuff. So it's time to definitely make a change.
Yeah.
I feel like I've just gone in and out of so many different topics in one.
No, I love that though. I love that. I think those are the best conversations. And I think that a lot of people are going to be able to relate as well. Like I can definitely relate to making up excuses about like, oh, why are you not eating today? Or like only wanted to go to certain restaurants. And like you, I also had a coach who were like praising me for being a crazy, crazy strict. Like at one point I would go out and I would buy a burger and I would take it home and literally take it all apart and weigh everything individually.
Oh
And I
my
told my coach
God.
that, and then she was like, amazing, like you're so dedicated, that's so
Yeah.
good that you're doing that. But if I had a client, like even not that I coach nutrition anymore, but if I when I did and someone said that they would do something like that, I'd be like, that is not how we do
it's
things
time
here.
time to talk about this.
Yeah, that's a big red flag.
Yes.
But so like with your own like disordered eating struggles that you've gone through, what do you think was the best thing that you did for yourself to overcome this? Like, did you work with a coach or like what did
No,
you
so it got to a point that even though I said to my husband so many times, I've got it under control, I'll stop, like with the bulimia and everything, because it come to a point I couldn't hide it anymore. I hid it for a lot of years. It come to a point that obviously I couldn't hide it. He knew what was going on. He was devastated so many times. Yeah, it was like ruining, like, because it was putting me into like, I was like really messed up in the head because I wasn't eating and I was like so like depressed and I was like ruining my own marriage. And I had finally found someone who was good for me and someone who I dreamed of this person. And then I was trying to sabotage it with my eating disorder, but it was just because I came from abuse, like abusive relationships, very like a very toxic past that I feel like I never had like I had like really bad like self-esteem issues and things like that. So I guess when I got something really good in my life, I was still trying to destroy what I had because I was always self-sabotaging. And yeah, because my bulimia actually started so weirdly though. It was the weirdest thing. I always remember the first time I ever did it. Um, I had this friend like when I was 12 or 13, and I was like I never knew about dieting and things like that. I mean, like I knew, like I saw like in those like whatever the celebrity diets back in the day and whatever, but I never cared about dieting. I was like, I just wanted to have fun. I was a kid, like I was just like I loved eating. I like grew up in an Italian family. I was like 10 bowls of pasta in one sitting. That was easy done for me. But I remember my friend, I had gastro, and she called me. She's like, "Why weren't you at school?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sick. I can't stop vomiting. We've got this like bug."
Mm.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm coming over." And I was like, "No, no, you can't come over. Like my mom said, this is really like contagious. Like we can't see anyone." She's like, "No, I'm coming over. I want it. I want to vomit." And I'm like, "What?" I was like, "What?" And she came over. She's like, "Lick your spoon." And I was like, "Oh, are you sure you want this?" She's like, "Yes, I want it. Lick your spoon." And then I licked my spoon, and then she put it in her mouth. And then like I was like, "What the?" I was so confused. Anyway, that was that. I didn't even know if she got sick or not. I didn't even talk about it. I was like, "That was what?" Like I just thought, why does someone want this sickness? I'm dying here.
Yes.
Um, and then she came over again, and my mum made us pasta. Like my mum literally only made pasta every day. Again, being Italian, pasta all the time. So she's like, "Bring a fork, come outside." And I'm like, she was like very erratic. And I was like, "All right, like we brought two forks, like bring two forks." And she was like making herself vomit with the fork. And she's like, "We need to vomit. This is bad. Do you know how much weight we'll put on eating pasta?" And like I was very easily influenced because I was young and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna get fat. All right, like fuck, give me the fork." Anyway, that was the first time I made myself vomit. I'm pretty sure like I remember spaghetti coming out of my nose. Like it was that bad. Like, and I was like, and she was like, "No, this is what I do, and that's why I'm always skinny and blah blah blah." So it literally started from there. Then I was doing it like nearly every day after school, constantly going on long walks with her. Like it was, I used to think her walks were like for like fun. I didn't know her walks were like literally exercise burning calories. Like I didn't know about any of that. Like I was bloody 12.
Mm.
Um, so that's like basically yeah, how that started. It's the weirdest way to
Right.
because everyone's like, why like how do you think you got an eating disorder and where did it stem from? And it was literally from that friend. Like it's so crazy how one thing in your life can
Yeah.
be so damaging.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
crazy. And like it's like when we are at that age as well, we're so like it's the word I'm looking for,
We
but
just
it's so easy to like influence. We're so easily influenced
yeah,
by our friends
we
because
just
we
do
just want to
whatever.
be like them and like we just want to belong and we don't understand right and wrong because our brains are not fully
Yeah.
developed. But that is literally like that. I am shook. Like if I was watching, I'm
I
like,
know. It's such an odd
that is
story.
so crazy. Like so crazy. Like my journey, like the girls who listen to this will know this already, but it started off there was like a girl in my class who came who was new and she was very open with having anorexia or we didn't call it anorexia but she just didn't eat, and then it became
Yeah.
like a competition in school of who can lose the most weight, who can eat the
Oh
least,
yes.
how can you hide your food, how can you like if anyone would eat lunch it was like, ugh, you're gross. Like that's how my
Yeah.
eating disorder started. But just the fact that she came to your house and she ate your like pasta with your parents and then she went out and vomited and showed you, like I'm shocked. Like I wonder
Yeah.
how it started for her. Like that would be
I
so
know.
interesting to know.
I honestly don't talk to her at all anymore.
Mm.
And I don't even think she would know this like at all, but I do hope that she's obviously better now. But I do realize now that she would have had a full on like eating disorder too, obviously.
Yeah,
Obviously.
of course. And wonder
Yeah.
how that started for her, like in such a young age, it's
So
12. Like
young.
obviously must be her parents or like the people she was around, or because it doesn't just come out of nowhere. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, wow,
Exactly.
that is so interesting. And then how long did you suffer from bulimia then?
So I was, yeah, like I said, I was 12, 13, and then pretty much like it turned from the bulimia to drugs.
Mm.
So I stopped being bulimic because then I started drugs. So then I didn't care about being bulimic because I cared about taking drugs. So again, it was one addiction to the next addiction. I was a bad kid, but I'm not even going to say it was the friends that I hung around. I was the instigator of it,
Mm.
literally. Like I actually introduced the drugs to my friends. So I was the bad influence. I was the bad kid.
Mm.
So it's crazy because people who I actually tell this to are like, what? You like they wouldn't even picture a cigarette in my mouth. But
Yeah.
I love to tell this story because I'm like, this is how far you can come. Like,
Yeah.
this is how people can change. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So obviously, I was on drugs like at school, after school, when I woke up. Like, I was, yeah, my poor mum. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
my poor mum, literally. Anyway, so yeah, I stopped being bulimic for a while, and then I met my daughter's dad. So once I met my daughter's dad, he was actually probably the best and worst thing that could have happened to me, because he was so controlling. I couldn't have friends anymore, and I couldn't go out, and I couldn't talk to this person and talk to that person. So then I actually stopped taking drugs, because then I was stuck at home and only with him. So my whole world was just me and him. And he didn't really like do drugs or anything like that. He was just all about being controlling and abusive and things like that. So I stopped taking drugs to being abused, and then going back to bulimia, because I felt, again, worthless. No one like cares about me. Was like, he treats me like shit, so who cares what happens to me? Like, always just destroying myself and killing myself. And I knew I was, but I just didn't care, because by this time I was like, I felt like I kind of didn't really have anything to like live for at this point. And I was young, so I was probably really dramatic too. Like, saying this, it sounds dramatic. I was young and I was very dramatic.
Yeah, but that was your reality if that's how you
Yeah.
felt.
And it was so crazy, because my mum is like, oh my gosh, my mum is so scared of drugs. And I grew up in like a really beautiful like household after my mum had left my dad. And my mum was always like the best mum in the world. And she never like had us around any drugs or anything like that. So it's just really weird. I don't know why I became what I don't know why I was such a bad kid when I had such a good upbringing. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I went down that road. And
Well,
then I don't
trauma
know.
starts when we're in the womb. So if even if that was something that you were around when you weren't even born, it could be,
Yeah.
you know.
I guess I did have, obviously, my like growing up, I have a really amazing relationship with him now, but my dad wasn't a very good person back in the day. He was abusive as well. He was an alcoholic. He treated my mum very bad, but obviously my mum did leave that relationship for, me and my sister, so we didn't have to grow up like that anymore. But it kind of, like, I guess it does stem from that as well. They say like a lot of people who go with abusive people have had abusive fathers and parents in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I was just unlucky. I ended up with one, and I ended up getting pregnant at 20. And by this stage, oh my gosh, I was someone who I was like, I hated kids. Like, I've got 3 kids, but I hated kids. I was like, I would never have kids. They're not cute. They're yuck. I don't like when they cry. They're annoying. They look like in the shopping centers. I'm like, oh my God, who would want to be a mum? Like, stuff that.
Yeah.
So like when people see kids and like, oh, they're so cute. I never looked at kids like they were cute. I would never compliment anyone's kids. I'll get your kids away from me.
Yeah.
So crazy to think that now, like, I couldn't even picture not having kids. My God. But anyway, yeah, so I became pregnant, and I was in a bad relationship, and I was like, well, maybe this will make him change. Like, maybe having this baby, like, he'll be good to me. He'll stop cheating on me. Like, I just thought like everything would be better. I always like thought the best for him, and I always thought he was gonna be a better person. And I always was so hopeful, and I was just always trying to wait for the day that he was going to treat me good, and it didn't happen. So anyway, I got pregnant, and I remember when I had my first ultrasound, for some reason, I must have, from someone who didn't like kids, I must have actually been so maternal. The minute that they put like the heartbeat sound on, my literally whole world changed. I was like, I fell in love. I was like, I'm carrying this baby. This is like the biggest miracle. And like, oh my God, I still remember till this day how I felt. And I was only 20, but I was like, yeah, all my friends were like, everyone was going to be celebrating their 21st birthdays, blah, blah, blah. And I was getting ready to be a mum. So obviously, yeah, I had her. My relationship didn't change. It got worse. It's like having my daughter even made him more angry and more psycho, because I guess we were like sleep deprived at this point and whatever. So, and our relationship was just, yeah, the worst it had ever been. So definitely kids don't help relationships become better. If anyone does think that, if you're with someone abusive, and I think it's a really important time to say this now, given that everything that's happening right now, and I think that it should be talked about. And I know a lot of people listening to this are probably in an abusive relationship right now, because you talk about this and that people that read this, when people talk about it or that are listening, are suffering, themselves and can't get out of their relationship, but it doesn't get better. It gets worse. And that person that you think will never, kill you or hurt you badly, don't think that that's not going to happen, because that shit happens. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not love. That is not love at all. No way. Love is literally like respect. No one who you're with that loves you and respects you would ever control you, would ever call you names, will ever put their hand on you, even mentally, physically. Someone who loves you and that deserves you will never do that. Never.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So I was like, I guess my daughter doesn't know to this day, because I don't go into detail about, me and her dad's past, but I feel like she was like, she's my angel. Like, she is my angel, not just because she's my first, but she made me leave because myself, I finally had a purpose and I had something to live for and to protect. And it wasn't about me anymore. It became about my daughter. So I got the strength. It took a lot of shit, but I finally left for good. I left a few times, but I finally left for good this time. And it was because I wanted my daughter to get, like, never grow up in that environment or ever see anything. Like, I wanted to protect her from ever thinking that that was normal. And like, to have, like, because what I saw with my dad, like, I would never want her to grow up like seeing that. Like, no way. Like, my mum might have regretted to this day how long she did stay, and I didn't want to have that regret. So I left.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna cry. Thank you so much for sharing that. I can imagine that wouldn't have been easy, but I think I hope that it's going to be really helpful for people to hear that and to see your journey, that you have gone through literally the fucking one of the worst things that can happen to a human, and be stuck in such a controlling relationship, and that you can actually get yourself out of there. You can actually completely change your life from being addicted to drugs, from having an abusive partner, from suffering from bulimia, to now thriving, having a business, having your partner literally work for you.
I know, like
it's amazing.
No, honestly, everybody has the power to to choose their life and to change their lives 100%. You might never change as a person completely. Like, even if I was had bulimia and on drugs and battling all this shit, I was always myself. Like, I mean, I've never lost my personality. I'm always like cheeky. I'm always like funny. I'm always smart assy. I'm always like making people laugh. Like, that never changed, but you can definitely change the things you do and the people you surround yourself with, of course.
So amazing. So, and then you got out of this relationship with him finally, and like you said,
and I finally was like, oh my god, I can go clubbing. I wasn't allowed to go clubbing for years, so I was like, oh my god. I called like my girlfriends. Two of them actually ended up moving in with me, because they actually wanted to move down to Melbourne, and I was like, well, move with me and my daughter, like, we can all rent together and this will be so fun. So they moved in with me, and we started going out, and I was just being like a normal, like, teenager again that I never got to be, because I was with him when I was 17, right? So I missed out on a lot of shit, like, and a lot of like fun, like going out. Like, I never got to go clubbing and have fun. So I started going clubbing, and I met my husband out one night. We were really drunk, and I didn't even know who he was the next day. He was like, add me to Facebook, and I was like, oh my god, to my friend, like, who was I hooking up with last night? I don't know who it was. Like, I went from being like this like person stuck at home to like kissing boys, like 5 different boys in one night. Not even gonna lie. And I was like, and she's like, which one? You're kissing everyone. And I was like,
I love that.
I don't know. And then anyway, I added him, and she's like, oh, I do remember you hooking up with him. And I was like, oh my god, he's so good. Like, he's actually really good looking. And then like I messaged him back. I'm like, hey, I just got your Facebook. And then, because he didn't remember me and I didn't remember him, and he actually admitted to, he was like, I was so worried when, he's like, that's why I asked for your Facebook, because I didn't remember what you look like either. So and then we like met up, and we're like seeing each other for a while, and like it was nothing serious, because I was having fun. I didn't want a boyfriend yet. I was like, I'm just having fun now. And I was like so selective, like, who's going to be in my daughter's life. I didn't want anyone to even meet her. I would never introduce her to anyone. I'm like, until I know that this person is going to be my husband, basically, like, I wouldn't even introduce. But so he was that real opposite to what I always used to go for. I was always like, I'd have to be with the bad boy, the hero guy, the macho guy that like was controlling. Like I thought that was hot. And then you realize that that's not fucking cute anymore. Like after, like, I'm not going to go back to that sort of guy after leaving someone like that. So Dalen was just so sweet. And yeah, we ended up, yeah, being in a relationship after a year of seeing each other. And yeah, that was it from there. But still, yeah, but like I said, then I had that good relationship. I had my son with him. We got married and we like had our third daughter as well, who wasn't planned, but I'm so glad she's here because she's like, oh my God, she's the light of our family. Like she's just the confident, like she's our baby. Everybody loves her. But yeah, so I still had obviously the bulimia and everything like that. And then going back to what we were saying, it did get to a point Dalen was like, I'm leaving. Like that's it.
Wow.
And I got scared. I was like, because he had enough of my behavior and the way I was acting and my obsession with my body and always vomiting. How many times did he like have to get Drano to like unclog the sink? Like that's like the things like that's like to think about that. Like I look back and I'm just like, how did this guy like stay with me? Like, and he's someone who he's like always just had it together. He really doesn't have problems or issues. He just grew up in a really nice family and he didn't even know like what it was like to be on drugs and you know what I mean? Like he always like went clubbing and drank and stuff, but he was never like someone who took drugs. He was like never grew up in like a toxic environment. So it's like he kind of yeah, like I feel like I was lucky that he stayed with someone that was so broken like me because as time went on, like he saw like how broken I was, you know, and I was still very like from my ex and everything that I had been through, like I definitely needed help for sure, like 100%. So yeah, he begged me like to go to the psychologist and stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go. After all the times I said no, or the times that he would drop me off and I wouldn't even walk in, I'd go somewhere else. Like he used to drop me off and I wouldn't even go into my appointment. I'd actually go on my phone or around the corner or something like that because I thought like I had it under control and like no one's going to tell me what to do. Like I didn't like listening to people and people telling me what to do. Anyway, I found this amazing psychologist. She changed my life. I kept going to her even though I was being stubborn at the start. And, you know, like I really wanted to make that change and get help for Dalen and my kids and even my mum. Like I knew my mum was like, it was killing my mum too. So yeah, I did. I got help and yeah, that's how my bulimia stopped. So I did get professional help and I feel like bulimia is harder than quitting smoking, I would say. Like you don't realize, but it's definitely harder than quitting smoking because I've easily quit smoking a lot of times, but I could never quit being bulimic. So it's just one of those things that you don't realize how addictive and how bad it is.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like people take eating disorder, people who've never struggled with an eating disorder, they just can't see it. They don't understand. They're like, just freaking, like when I was anorexic, it was like, just eat. Like, what's the problem? Or then when it was binge eating, it was like, well, just don't eat. Like, just don't binge. And same for bulimia. It's like, I heard like, well, just don't go vomit. Like, just stop yourself. And it's God, I wish it was that easy that you can just switch and just be like, yeah, no, I'm just not gonna do that anymore. But it goes so much deeper than just the act of vomiting or just how you look or just binging or just not eating. Like it's literally like another person living in your body making you do these things.
100%. It's the devil, literally. It's the devil. When were you like what ages did you struggle with anorexia from?
So around, I think it was like 14, 15, 16, like quite young as well. And then that kind of spiraled into this 10 years of binge eating. But I was so good at restricting because of my anorexic background. So I would restrict all week and then just binge on the weekends. And because I was still like skinny, no one really thought I had a problem. And I also was just like, oh, this is just my life now. Like, obviously I'm still skinny, so I must be doing something right.
100%.
But it just, then that spiraled into really, really, really bad binge eating. And I started putting on weight. And then became orthorexic because I signed up with a macro tracking coach who was like encouraging this obsessive behavior.
Yes, I know.
And then I just got into loads of like shadow work and mindset work, which is what I'm doing now with my clients. And
Amazing.
that's how my relationship to food and to myself really started to heal. So if anyone's listening to this, like please like reach out to help, because it's such a hard thing to do on your own. And like
It's
you
so
struggled for
hard.
so long trying to do it yourself, and just with your friends or with family, like we have to remember that our friends and our family, they're our friends and our family. They're not paid therapists, they're not psychologists, they're not coaches.
No,
Like, they're there
no.
to be there for us and to love us and to have our backs. But it's so unfair to think that someone who's your friend or your boyfriend or your mum, that they're going to help you get through an eating disorder or an abusive relationship. Like, that's not their job.
It's not. And you kind of do start blaming like people around you for like not helping and things.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're like, well, why don't you watch me when I go to the toilet then to make sure I don't vomit? And it's like,
Yeah.
as if it's like your husband's job to like live watching to like make sure that you're not running to the toilet to like make yourself sick.
Yeah.
But you do start blaming everybody else because that's what addictions are. Like, you blame everyone else because you're right. You're always right. You always get it under control apparently in your head when you've got an addiction. And
Yeah.
you're always gonna, you can stop like this, you say to yourself and you say to other people, like, I'm fine, like if I didn't want to do it, I could stop. No way. Like, it goes beyond that, like you said, 100%. And you definitely do need professional help. And like I was saying to you, I think it was off camera, like my coach Kirsty, she's even doing a course with you to even like further her own like knowledge with binge eating and everything like that, because she had struggled like with it in the past as well. So I'm so excited that she's doing this with you. Like, I'm so excited. Like, your business is bringing a positive effect like to my business. Like, so it's so nice that you're helping other coaches coach. And like, it's a really amazing thing what you're doing. Really, really amazing. And the fact that you've heard it all, you've seen it all, you've been through it all, you're going to be able to relate to every single person who jumps on this course with you. So I'm sure you're going to help many girls. So how exciting.
Oh, thank you so much. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. And so excited to work with Kirsty, of course, and anyone else who's jumping on. But I think it's something that I really want to open up a bit more in the coaching space is collaboration with other coaches. I think it's very easy to get into that mindset of, oh no, I have to be the best, or if I get help from anyone else, or if I talk to anyone else or do a collaboration with someone else, then people are going to think I'm not good enough. But like, we all have our different strengths. So why the fuck wouldn't you collaborate with someone who is good at something like that you're not so good at, or maybe that you're just not passionate about it?
Yes,
Like with,
exactly.
There's people doing breath work, there's sexual empowerment coaches, there's
Yeah.
people who specialize in hormones, there's people who specialize in strength training. Like, why wouldn't you bring in like different coaches to talk to your clients? Like, I think it's amazing that people have started doing that now.
I know. Even my best friend, she does holistic coaching, and I don't even 100% understand it myself, but I love what she's even teaching. So it is nice that you can take so much away from so many different styles of coaching. And 100%. It doesn't just have to be like about nutrition coaching, like 100, like it can, you can get, like, it can be nutrition coaching, and like you said, like what you're teaching as well, and breath work and blah blah blah, how you said, like, there's so much help out there. There's so much help out there. And definitely it's definitely always worth it. 100%.
Absolutely. Well, we're coming up to about an hour now. I knew.
Oh my God, I thought we were talking for like 5 minutes.
I know. I knew it, like, just from the voice notes that we were sending back and forth to each other. I was like, this is gonna be a really good podcast. This is gonna be
I don't even
one of those where I have to be like, much the time, Helen, or you will go over time.
I feel like this wasn't even like a topic. I feel like it was just like an everything chat.
Yeah, exactly. And when you come to Bali, we'll do it again, but with a couple of cocktails.
Yes, 100%. I love that.
Yeah. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure that people are going to listen to this and be like, I will need to reach out to her. Like, so please plug yourself. Like, are you taking on clients? Like, where can people reach you?
Yeah, so we're always taking on clients. As I said, like, now it's me and Kirsty. So we're pretty much, until like it gets to a point, we always like obviously have a weight loss. Oh my God, a wait list. Why did I say weight loss?
A wait list.
Literally, we always have like, pretty much like we have a certain amount of clients that we know are like, all right, nah, like let's stop there, put on the wait list. But I mean, like, it's never like too long of a wait list because, like I said, there's two of us. So yeah, we're definitely taking on clients, and we would love to work with anyone who wants to work with us, of course.
Is it just females?
No, we actually have a lot of husbands as well.
Hey,
Yeah.
amazing.
I love the males are actually so fun to work with because guys are so simple.
Yeah. Oh
like,
God, yeah.
They just listen to you. They're like, all right, yeah, I'll do that. And then they just like lose all this weight and they're like, yeah, everything's going good, thanks. And you're like, anything to touch on? No, all good. And you're like, all right, like so chill. It's
yeah.
I love working with both, but yeah.
I think it's so amazing. Like, I just had one of my girls, her partner signed up because she was like, I can see all the transformation is happening in her. So like, it's so amazing when you get both parties, and it's because then you obviously it's going to be so much easier, especially if they're on a weight loss journey, for example. If both people are doing it, then it's going to be so much easier than one person.
Yes.
I want to order Uber Eats every day. I want to go out and drink. Like, if you can both support each other as a team, like, wow, like, conquer the world.
I know they say like you should do it for yourself and blah blah blah, and that's 100% true.
Of course, yeah.
But having someone on your team always makes a difference. Always, it does.
Completely. Like, if you're in a good environment where it's easy and you both have the same goal, it's gonna be so much easier. Easier.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, thank you so much. I'm so happy I did this because like I said, I was so nervous, so I'm so happy. Thank you. And I could have thought of anyone better to do this podcast with.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I could have like literally talked to you for hours, but I know you have an appointment as well, so, and I don't want to take up your whole day.
No, that's all good.
But guys, you know the drill by now. If you like this episode, which I know you're going to, please make sure you do take a screenshot. You tag myself, you tag Nikki, you tag Women's Fitness Academy. Please, like, post your reflections, like, what did you like the most, what resonated with you the most. We love to hear it. We love to connect with you, so please make sure you do that. And again, thank you so much for jumping on. It's been such a pleasure, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what you're doing next.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure as well.
Bye guys.
Bye.